Hey guys, Mike here. So we got a lot to discuss this upcoming week. Some things have happened over the weekend we're going to talk about. The good news is there shouldn't be any earnings or economic data that should derail anything at all. But we do have what? The tariff deadline coming up on Wednesday. We got news about that today, which I'll show you from the Treasury Secretary. Also, Elon tweeting a whole bunch of stuff this weekend. I guess he's officially started a third party. So, of course, I'm waiting to hear the threats from the president and the administration on this. But how do you think it's going to affect Tesla stock? Last time he started tweeting stuff like this didn't go well. So let me know on the bottom, just for the heck of it, like as a poll, would you like to see a party called the American Party? Would you like to see a third party or not? Just curious. Also, where do you think Tesla's going to open up on Monday with this news, especially if the administration comes out and makes more threats and stuff about taking certain things away or sticking Doge on them or something like that. And we'll definitely start off with, when we get to it, the charts, the more speculative stuff first, if we continue this push up. And then, you know, the stuff like, for example, Amazon, what we got going on? Amazon Prime Day, they extended it from 2 to 4 days. Also, some on Apple's chart, if it breaks above this, it's going to close that gap like that. I'm telling you right now. Now, looking at this right here, this is Elon Musk's tweet. For those who didn't know, by a factor of 2 to 1, he took a poll. You want a new political party, and you shall have it. So supposedly he registered this. You know, we'll see. And then he came out with a whole bunch of other tweets. Just pretty much all weekend, he was blowing it up. So we'll see how that's going to affect Tesla stock on Monday. Now, here's what the Treasury Secretary had to say about the deadline for tariffs. Pay close attention.
President Trump's going to be sending letters to some of our trading partners saying that if you don't move things along, then on August 1st, you will boomerang back to your April 2nd tariff level. So I think we're going to see a lot of deals very quickly.
And so we moved the deadline, we kicked it back. The question is, will the market say, oh, that's great, we got till August 1st to do whatever we want to do? And then, you know, or will it say, oh my goodness, you know, what's going to happen here? You would think, because we're postponing that deadline versus holding the board up again, right, that the market will say, okay, cool, we can continue to do our thing. But the real question is going to be is, a lot of letters are going out, he said, and a lot of these countries we don't do a lot of trading with anyway, and so they're just going to be at the 10%. That's the way it's going to be. Nobody cares about those people. I mean, I hate to say that. Nobody cares about those countries. Not going to care about the people. But we don't do a lot of trading with them, so it's not going to be a big impact. The real big ones are really large trading partners, right? Like Japan now. That's what we talked about forever. And so that's what we want to see. But again, they'll have, you know, 3 more weeks to figure that out. Now, this chart right here pretty much shows the impact that we have had. And this is why I say you can go back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s all you want, 80s, whatever. But this is cumulative net retail purchases by calendar year. And we've had the biggest first half of any year ever. 2021, 2022 was the record. No surprise. I'm actually surprised it's not more, to be honest with you. But just look at like 2020 through 2025 and then compare that to 2014 to 2019. I assume if you go back even farther, it's going to be even less. But 4 times, we are investing more from retail now than we ever have. And things have just changed so much with all these trading groups and alert groups and, you know, Robinhood and Webull and just everything else out there that gives you access and trading view and everything. I mean, everything is at your disposal now, right? So many people are so much more educated when it comes to this. But this is why you're seeing, especially speculative stocks versus, you know, your mom and pop stocks do what they do, right? Having these huge returns, and that's never going to go down. I mean, this should just continue to go up, you would think. Now, one thing that's good as far as if you're a bull, especially in this market, is you always want to watch financials. And it's not just here, folks. It is all around the globe. These are bank stocks all around the globe. And you can see so many hitting new all-time highs, new 52-week highs. And again, it's all over the place, or a whole boatload within like 2 to 3% of either setting a new 52-week high or a new all-time high. I mean, we're talking about in Canada, Asia, Europe, you name it, okay? And so this isn't just here, and it isn't just for the stock market. Their stock markets are hitting new all-time highs too. Now, we did reach a level we hadn't seen in a long time, extreme greed. And again, you go back, I don't know, almost 2 full years, we still weren't there. So it's been a long time since we have been up to extreme greed. Now, obviously, this thing can continue to push higher and higher if the market says, oh, great, we're going to push the deadline back on tariffs more. Good, let's continue to run this up. And that's why I want to start with the spec stocks first, right? These stocks that are high beta, they move fast, up and down, But again, you're not talking about revenues, you're not talking about fundamentals or financials, that kind of stuff. And so our GTI is one of these where, you know, they're looking like they want to do these breakouts and they can move really, really fast. So if this breaks out, you know, 1650, 1750, and you can see on the weekly even more, is definitely on the cusp. And if we go to like a 4 hour, it's actually a gap right here. And so, you know, you can get up there between 16, 17, 84 right there. Again, there's room to the downside, but so far it held that volume node right there and bounced. And so it keeps holding that area right there. So this is just one. So you can see, you know, I mean, 30% upside. If we want to continue to see these kind of stocks absolutely explode out, another one's going to be IONQ. You see kind of the same setup here, which just keeps a wedging and wedging, and they get these explosive moves. Again, it held that volume node where you see the big one right there. And if this one breaks out, 48.33, 54.77, you know, can happen for sure. But if it breaks down, you can clearly see the risk of the downside, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. When you come over here and look at it a different way, you can see kind of like this rounding bottom. Maybe that's a handle right here, as you can see. Another rounding bottom coming up. And so, you know, no surprise if this does break out. Again, the market's going to have to continue to push these high beta stocks. But here's what Stanley Druckenmiller had to say about stocks like this and others.
The only other thing I'd say is too many investors look at the present. The present is already in the price. You have to think out of the box and sort of visualize 18 to 24 months from now what the world is going to be and what securities might trade at. You know, what a company's been earning is ridiculous. It doesn't mean anything. What you have to look at is what people think, what a company's earning, what people think it's going to earn. And if you can see something 2 years, it's going to be entirely different than the conventional wisdom. That's how you make money. My first boss used to say the obvious is obviously wrong. If you invest in conventional wisdom, you're going to lose your butt.
And no, I'm not alluding that Stanley Druckenmiller would buy this stock or whatever, either one of those stocks. But, you know, for those who don't know who he is, he's famous for having an average annual return around 30% over 3 decades. And understand, he pushes his eggs all in one basket a lot of times. He believes in going 3 to 5 and being real heavy on what he believes. But he also has had major losses along the way.
When I was at Soros, I shorted $200 million worth of internet stocks in March of 99, and in 3 weeks covered them at a $600 million loss. I lost $600 million on a $200 million investment in 3 weeks. I was short 12 stocks. They all went bankrupt.
So just imagine that, right? Another one's going to be coin here. Is at this area, very interesting area, kind of peeked its head above it. But the question is, if it finally pushes through, all-time highs are to the left over there around 427.88. And so if this can start moving up, you know, we got this rounding bottom. Maybe we, you know, start to form this handle on the daily. I believe that's what we started doing. But if it breaks up here, and remember, it is on the S&P now, you know, 427.88 is all-time high. It's not even that far away. What was really impressive, though, you go to the daily, you can kind of see where it's kind of formed this small handle here. So if that breaks above, again, a lot of people have been playing options on this one. You know, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Then, yeah, watch 427.88 to get closed. And this has been moving really fast, as you can see. Over the last couple of weeks here. But what's impressive about it is they don't even need Bitcoin anymore. I mean, Bitcoin has really not been doing anything at all when you look at this. And these miners and everything else, you know, it slightly broke out this bull flag, but it has been doing nothing. And Coin's been saying, see you later. It's been waving at it, saying, see you later. You know, and you look at the miners, they're doing the same thing. You look at the Maras, we already talked about this, boom, breaking out right there. CLSK, Clean Spark, again, breaking out right there, hitting some resistance, finally right there. But they've been moving up without it. Okay, so that one's somewhat surprising, but, you know, again, it's all about speculation now. So younger people are going into these kind of stocks and all that to get these larger gains and to take more risk. You know, HIM's another one, held this area right here, got its bounce. There is the gap above right there, and you can see it. So if it can hold here, and I can't stress enough, as speculation continues, watch for this gap to be filled going up to 61 right here. There will be resistance around the 57, 58 area right there. You can also see to the downside. The question is all this going to be just a lower low, right? If that's what this is, then obviously that's not a good thing. But what you're looking at here is simply this right here. Maybe you can say this is a handle or something right here. And then we break out, try to fill that gap. Marvel is probably another one. This has been a laggard as far as the semiconductors are concerned, but it's at a very interesting area right now. You can see it's holding this, needs to hold this area that came back down a little bit. But you can see the resistance above is almost like non-existent because it did this crash, like just skyrocket up in the end of 2024 and then just crash down completely. This is a much more not as well known semiconductor stock. Obviously, they've been on fire. It has been moving up, but you can clearly see on the white line right there, if it can hold like that 75.18 area, 83 right here, once that breaks, there's a gap right above it. And so we can complete that and then get through that gap and start heading up to around like $89, $92. You can clearly see when we put a channel on this, it's just grinding its way up, right? Higher lows and higher highs, okay? You look at the momentum, the RSI on the weekly, finally getting above this 50, trying to hold, getting the bullish MACD cross, but again, not above zero. Once you get above zero, that's when you have the really big moves right here. Okay, so watch for this one right here because all the other semis have pretty much just been running like crazy. Amazon, got Amazon Prime Day coming up. We're going to see if that's going to push this up to that 228.50 area. If we can hold and get above that, clearly there's all-time highs. I think a lot of people are speculating that's what's going to happen for Amazon here. They extended it to 4 days, so we'll see. Normally in the past, we've had these run-ups, and it has held this area right here when it came back down and did the retest right there. It did hold and continue back up. So watch Amazon. Also looking to see if Google right here can get past or really kind of hold where it's at right now at 179. Finally get to that 182.71 area, which should lead to around 185. And when we look at the options on this one right here, you can see what they're expecting. You see the gamma exposure. We'll pull up 711 through like 81 right here. And the call wall, as far as resistance, 180, 185. You can see put support right there around 165 to 175. And then if we come down to like 815 right here, you can see the same thing. Call wall about 200. Put ball about 160 right there, what they're expecting. Now with Apple, watch out for this all-time high anchor VWAP right here. That's what we ran into the other day. So we're wedged between that big crash down anchor VWAP, the low, and then the all-time high anchor VWAP. So, and again, I think it's like 6 straight green days. So I mean, that's like screaming to at least do some kind of pullback to consolidate before the move. But if it breaks above that all-time high anchor VWAP, then I think we're going to go ahead and close that gap like very, very quickly. And then from there, 226 should be in the cards. I'm not going to be surprised at all if there's some kind of announcement, with either AI, layoffs, future layouts, something. It's just not going to surprise me because it's the only one that's not doing it. Tesla, let me know on the bottom where you think this is going to open up. Clearly, I think a lot of people think it's going to open up red. And it was in a precarious situation because it's sitting right there on that volume gap. That volume gap will take it right on down to somewhere in the neighborhood of 305. If that can't hold, there is liquidity to be grabbed between like 285, 292 down there. If, shockingly, we end up going green, which Tesla tends to do, between 331, 343 is the draw to the upside. Let's just see what happens here. SPY, we'll see if we can close this gap right here. Again, just, I don't know how many days it is green now. It's just going almost like parabolic, it seems like, right? And gravity just doesn't exist. At some point in time, it will, for sure. And the only thing I'm looking for on this, honestly, if we pull back, it's just to test that recent all-time high. That's really what it is. But let's see if we can just even get a gap fill on this thing. And that's what it wants to do. IWM, everybody's looking at this one. It held. We were green again on like Thursday. So if we can hold this volume node at 220.79, again, there's not a lot of resistance up here. So we'll see if we can get to 226.69 on this one come this week. Now, when it comes to earnings, the only one that really matters to me is Delta. And then you can put Levi in there if you want to because, we buy Levi's. And then WD-40, maybe Price Smart in there. But really, it's just about Delta. We travel, and I know a lot of airports are still super busy. My friend just got back from vacation and said it was packed out. I just got back from vacation a few weeks ago, and it was packed out. So we'll see. Like I said, there's no data to derail us here, honestly. I mean, you got Monday, nothing. Tuesday, NFIB Small Business Index, Consumer Credit. Wednesday, crude oil inventories, 10-year bond auction, FOMC minutes. Thursday, unemployment claims. And then the 30-year bond auction, and Friday, nothing. Okay, so it's a very quiet week on that right there compared to last week for sure. So let's buckle up and see what happens this week. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Think about signing for the membership. Less than McDonald's combo at $7.99. That's everything you get with it. Just hit the link down the bottom of the description. It's the Patreon link right there. And I'll end up seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun one.